Good evening. I'm going to be talking to you all about Scorpio season tonight. I've been getting a lot of messages. People who don't normally ask about the energy have been asking about the energy, and that's when you know that it is powerful stuff that's happening. So as you're coming through, you can say hi in the chat if you're live. I'm going to share a bit about what to expect in Scorpio season and how you can really harness this month to support your highest, timeline at this moment. Scorpio is the sign of death and rebirth. So this is a really great time to set into motion any of your goals that you've been putting off, any of the changes that you've been wanting to make and keep kind of brushing it aside and thinking, I'll come to that later, I'll do something about that next month or maybe even next year. Maybe you're falling into that trap already. I'll just wait until January 1st. Scorpio season is all about piercing through this lovely narrative that we all tell ourselves as humans, all the excuses, all the reasons that we come up with why things can't happen yet, it's not quite convenient enough. Scorpio pierces through all of our personal beliefs and our own little ways of limiting ourselves, and it really focuses on what is the truth here. What is the truth of this situation? And there is, as I shared yesterday in the post that I put up, there is, of course, a human need that we have for what feels safe, and a lot of our sense of safety comes through what the brain is used to. So anything that is familiar and predictable can often get categorized as comfortable, even though at the same exact time us humans are full of contradiction, full of paradox. Welcome as you're coming through. And even though we have this deep desire to be in something that is predictable, we also have, the whole reason that we are here is to be on a journey of evolution, to be on a process of change and transformation. And this month, Scorpio season, is a really, really wonderful time to embrace that part of yourself again. If you have got stuck recently in the familiar, in your little comfort zone, and even though it is comfortable, at the same time, there's nothing that comfortable about it. Again, it's that contradiction. If you really sit with it, it's that part of your soul, it's the part of your spirit that has got limitless potential. It isn't living from your belief systems. It's not living from the stories that you tell yourself about what you're capable of. Your spirit and your soul is connected to absolute truth, which is that, beneath the ways that we train ourselves to be in the day-to-day, beneath that lives our nature. And our nature is free from all of the conditioned ways of thinking and operating. And I myself, you may have seen if you watch my stories, I've been involved in a 4-day event with an incredible woman called Hannah. Some of you probably follow her. And it's been such a great reminder of how important it is to, from time to time, check in with things that seem really, really simple, such as, where am I wanting to even go? Really having clarity around where it is you currently wish to be directing yourself to. When I was speaking a lot about spiritual MOT, when I was, in the launch phase of spiritual MOT, I was talking a lot about the metaphor of driving a car or going on any journey, car, train, airplane, it doesn't matter, and not being clear on what the destination point is. How do we know where, what directions to take? What's going to be a yes? What's going to be a no? What is something to prioritize? What's something that gets to kind of take a bit of a back seat for a while? Because without knowing, at least to, some level of clarity, where it is you currently wish to, your soul is currently wishing for you to grow into, to evolve into, it's very difficult to feel empowered. It's very difficult to see the abundance of opportunities that will be right in front of your face already that could support you in getting to that place. And just like using any sort of, Google Maps, anything like that, the more specific you are with where it is you're wanting to go, the smoother your journey is going to be to get there, because as I said, you suddenly become very empowered and you've got a structure for decision making. So it eliminates all that kind of mental fatigue and the indecision and the confusion around, is this a good opportunity? Is this a good use of my time, my energy, my resources or not? So there's that aspect to it. But also, like I said at the start, you can feel more safe on the journey because you understand what you are navigating yourself towards. Like if you put in some very wishy-washy location into your Google Maps, it's not going to find the most effective route for you to get there. And so at the end of the journey, or while you're on the journey, you might not really be trusting the process. It's it's too open for interpretation. So Scorpio season is a fabulous time to take a moment to reflect. Scorpio is the sign of death and rebirth. And this is a fundamental part of being human. Regardless of, knowing a ton about astrology or not, we are always in this process of death and rebirth. There are parts and phases to our lives where certain behaviors and priorities make sense. And then we transition into a new phase of life where they just really don't at all. They don't align. So it's a really great checkpoint this month to reflect on where you are. What is your current circumstance? How are you feeling within yourself? What is your health or your spiritual life feeling like? And where is it that you would like to drive yourself? Because we're always on this journey whilst we're living, whether we're doing it intentionally or not, we're always driving ourselves somewhere. So why not do this with more intention and more purpose? And there is such, like I said, there's such empowerment and like a trust you can feel in yourself when you make a declaration, when you have your word mean something, when you have your desire mean something, when you start to honor your own voice. Scorpio is also very, very intuitive. So honoring the part of you that is more subtle, it's your energy. The part of you that is calling for something that currently doesn't exist in your reality, but trusting that desire is that initiating moment to something being possible, being real for you, and nurturing that initial seed so that it can grow, so that you're nurturing it and allowing it to have the right conditions. It's starting with an internal environment, connecting with your voice, your nature, your soul's desires, and then nourishing that space with intentional, setting out that GPS location with an intentional, okay, this is where I wish to go, and I'm currently here. How can I now, in a more practical sense, support what is currently just an idea come into form, to become manifest? And this is the death rebirth cycle. Some of our goals, some of the things that we want to achieve are hi lovely, are quite simple to make happen. Others are much bigger. And so there is a humility piece that comes into this as well. Being willing to go on a journey, being open and excited about the fact that your soul is calling you forward to witness more of who you really are, beyond the stories that you've been telling yourself, beyond the beliefs that you've been moving with, like touching back in with the nature of you beneath all of that noise, and enjoying what you get to experience of yourself and what you get to experience of the world around you when you say yes to your own desires, you know? As I said, I've been in a 4-day container, and part of what I've done, and this is just so apt for Scorpio season, I don't know if it was intentional by the woman who ran it or not, but one of the pieces of homework was what in you gets to die for the desire, for this vision that's coming forward to exist, to not just be a cute idea on a piece of paper, but to actually come to life. And it was a really powerful but simple question to sit with. What in me gets to die? And, you know, I'll share a couple of the things because I think it's important to, you know, be open and transparent about this stuff. For me, one of the things that I identified was no longer, and it's so much smaller than it used to be, but still there's this part in me, and maybe some of you can relate to this, that still rests back into this savior energy of, you know I'm good, I know I'm worthy, so maybe someone's just going to make this a bit easier for me. maybe someone's just going to let an opportunity that I really want land in my lap, and I won't have to do all the things. You know, I identified that part of me not being of any value anymore, and choosing to go on this journey, choosing to go on that death rebirth experience, to not only have desires, to not only know that there is spirit, there is soul in me calling me towards bigger, new levels, new experiences, but to become that person and not expect someone to just be like, here you go. You can have the thing and you don't really have to change. Because, you know, I'm sure many of you can relate. It's very easy to want things. But if that's all it took, just sitting and journaling and reflecting on it, then we'd all have what we want. But it's a little bit more gritty than that. It is embracing your capacity to shapeshift, like the scorpion, to pierce through your own bullshit, pierce through your own beliefs and stories that are actually really restricting who you are, the potential of who you are, and allowing your nature to lead you a bit more than it currently is. And it's really fascinating how often trust comes up in this. I'd say every single time. You know, can I really trust myself? And obviously I'm including myself in this. Can I trust myself? The desire is exciting. But whilst it's exciting, the reality can feel very daunting. So then trust comes up. Can I trust myself? Can I trust myself to let go of the familiar, even though the familiar is not serving, so that I can experience what I want? But what is there not to trust in with yourself? You know, when you, again, really sit with that question, why wouldn't you be able to trust yourself? Of course you've got your best interests at heart. Of course your soul, of course your own intuitive, you know, voice is coming from a place of absolute love and knowing of the truth of who you are. So Scorpio season is a really powerful month to reflect on what death rebirth cycle you're ready to embrace now. Because whilst we do have this human part of us that loves the familiar, it loves a comfort zone, we know what to expect, even though what we're expecting is all kind of I don't love it, don't like it, but at least I know what's coming. Oh yes, please do. I think that's how I initially came across your page, actually, like during the lockdown years. It was a song and you were sharing, it was something about voice. I think it was one of the full moons and you're sharing about sacred anger, and that was very poignant at the time for me. So yes, we have that need for a comfort zone, but then we also have the soul that is really prioritizing evolution, because, you know, this isn't a warm-up act. We're in our life, and there's a really undeniable part in all of us, whether, you know, labeling someone as spiritual or not, we all have this part of us that it wants to go on an adventure. We've incarnated to experience, to, you know, have variety, to be less in our head and in our ego that likes to judge everything, whether that is, this is a good experience, I like this, I love it when they behave this way towards me, that kind of fits in with my story of how I want life to be. And then there's the soul that's actually just like, all of this is beautiful because it's life. And the power that is in all of us to move from that space, to be living from that place of, even when life, you know, it's the humility piece again. I can't control life. No matter how much healing I do, no matter how spiritual I may be, I can never control life. I can move with it, but I can't force it to be on my timing, to be playing by my story. And so when you can come to that place of humility and acceptance that we're taking part in life, we can control and, you know, what's the best language for this, but we can have control over this, our own vessel, and how we're using the mechanics of being human, but we can't control what's outside of us. Then you can start to move from a more powerful place of, and this is something that I teach within spiritual MOT, just taking the data like a scientist, receiving the data and learning from it. That's what your soul wants. It's not really that concerned about, you know, something hurting your feelings or someone not behaving like you want them to, or your boss saying something negative about a piece of work you handed in. Your soul's just, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm extracting all this really vital data to become an even more expressed version of the unique energy that I am. And everything that life is bringing towards me is useful. The more you shield yourself, the less you can grow. The less you grow, the less fulfilled you're going to feel. The less you're growing and the less fulfilled, the more that you're alive from a place of illusion about who you are and what you're capable of. So Scorpio season is a time to experiment. It's a time to really lean into what it means to be alive. which is a capacity for, never-ending transformations. The most happy, fulfilled, successful, however you want to, categorize success, many types of it, these people, I would say, something that I see in common with all of those types of people is that they have so many different chapters to their lives. I love it when you get talking to someone, you meet someone, and you're just like, wow, my gosh, like, it's as if you've lived, 10 different lives. And that's, someone who's really moving from a soulful place, really allowing themselves to be an active participant in this game of life and trusting in their creative potential. It's unique for all of us. Creativity doesn't necessarily have to come through, literal art, but we're all creative, we're always creating. And this is a month to really hone your creative ideas, to give them life, breathe into them, act into them, speak into them, embrace them. So that is a little Scorpio pep talk. The lower energy of this month can be, if you're resisting what it means to be alive, if you're resisting the nature of life as a cyclical experience, then this month can feel very challenging. And I've already had multiple messages, as I said at the start, of people being like, what's happening? I don't like it. Like, this has happened, and like, I'm feeling really tense and frustrated, and there have been all sorts of things going on, accidents, breakups, unexpected news in families. And that's in our choosing. If we're in resistance, it is going to feel like a challenging month because you're ignoring your own soul's desire. So, of course, I encourage you to lean in, to breathe into the truth of who you are, to take time to reflect on where your soul's calling you to go next, and then to listen to that answer, to act on it. And I've been doing this within that container I spoke about. And part of me acting on things that I identified, because there's no point just journaling things and then closing the book and doing nothing with it, is, they can be seemingly small things, but significant that you do them. So I'm in a dress today, and usually on a Friday, I'd be in my sweats. That's a very American saying, I feel like. But I'd be in my trackies because I don't see clients on a Friday. So usually I'm working from home, but I'm just like, bleh. No one can see me. I'm just going to work like this. And actually, part of the visioning this place that I'm wishing to get myself to was the acknowledgement that the version of me that's there, that's living that life, she's, clothing's deep and it's not deep at all. Like, it affects how we feel and how we're showing up. So for me, one of the small commitments I've made is even when I'm not seeing clients, I'm going to make a little bit of effort. Like, I've still had my slippers on. I've not bothered to put any makeup on, but I'm in a dress. And it has impacted my work today, I feel, the quality of my work. So if you're going to take something from this live, I, as I said, would really encourage you to reflect on where it is your soul is calling you to go. You'll already have the answer. You've probably been feeling it for a while and just kind of, not now, it's not convenient, but change is never convenient. So stop telling yourself that story. Again, pierce through your own bullshit and work with the truth at the moment. So reflect on that and then identify an action. Like me being in a dress, identify an action, a commitment that you can make to yourself so that your word has value. so that you can really trust in yourself and let that momentum do what it's going to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. Thank you for joining. It's nice to have a little bit of chat in the chat as well. If you do want any support through this month, you may have seen that I have offered a really, really generous Scorpio flash offer, because this month is all about transformation. So usually if you're working with me one-on-one, that's in a 3-month setting as a minimum. But for Scorpio season, I'm offering a 4-week. So we journey together essentially for the month of Scorpio. It might taper through depending on when you pick up and say yes to this. So you've got an opportunity to work with me privately as your coach for a whole month, and this will be £600. So you're also saving £333 off of what would be the equivalent should you go into the 3-month container and we figure out what that would be for a month. So it's a really incredible opportunity. If you do want to find out a bit more about that, then just drop me a message. And then there's also the astrology school, of course, that is starting from the 3rd of November. And that is a 4-week online journey as well. But this one isn't a private setting, it's a group setting, and it is astrology school. So you are going to learn how to read your own birth chart. So if you want to find out details about that one, again, drop me a DM. That is £222 for the whole 4 weeks together. And yeah, stay connected to the truth this month and let it guide you into the highest timeline available for you right now. I will save the live, absolutely. Thank you for being active in the comments. I am definitely that person when I'm watching lives as well. So I appreciate it, and I'll speak to you all soon.